Stop resisting! Put your hands behind your back! You're under arrest! Yeah.
Let go of me! I am cooperating.
Get on the ground now! You are resisting arrest!
I am not resisting. What is this about?
Rain slicked the highway in silver threads when Senator Maya Brooks saw the red and blue lights flare behind her. She eased her black sedan to the shoulder, heart steady, hands visible on the wheel. Decades of practiced caution in a country that taught her the cost of sudden movements. The cruiser door slammed. Heavy boots scraped against wet asphalt. Officer Daniels' flashlight cut through the dark, stopping on her license plate, then her face. "License and registration," he barked. No greeting, no reason. She handed them over. "Is there a problem, officer?" "Step out of the vehicle." Maya hesitated. "I'd prefer to know," I said out. His hand hovered near his holster. Wind bit against her skin as she obeyed, rain streaking down her tailored navy suit. Cars passed, their headlights flashing over the scene like camera shutters, indifferent witnesses to another power play. Daniels looked her up and down, his voice sharp with disdain. "You people think rules don't apply once you've got a fancy car." Her throat tightened, but her voice stayed calm. "I am the rules," she said, a pause. Then the snap of cold metal cuffs. He twisted her wrist until she winced. "Not tonight, you're not." Somewhere down the road, thunder rolled, a sound too much like applause, too much like warning. She met his eyes, rain dripping from her lashes. "You just made the worst mistake of your career," he smirked. "We'll see about that." The dash cam light blinked red, recording every word. Rain fell harder now, blurring the windshield, each drop a small percussion against the rhythm of Maya Brooks's heart. She'd left Washington at dusk, headed home after a long committee session on justice reform. A bitter irony, she thought as blue lights cut through her rearview mirror. She slowed, turned the hazard lights on, and pulled over beneath a highway sign, Exit 12, Eastwood County. Her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. Her son's name flashed on the screen, Malik. She silenced it. She'd call him after this was over. The patrol car door opened. Officer Daniels approached with the gait of someone who'd already decided the ending. "Evening, officer," Maya said through the open window. He ignored the courtesy. "You know why I stopped you?" "I'm not sure," she replied evenly. "Was I speeding?" "License and registration." She retrieved them carefully, narrating her movements like a ritual. "My license is in my purse. Registration in the glove compartment." Daniel's eyes followed her every motion. Rain pooled on his cap brim, sliding off like mercury. When she handed him the documents, he squinted at the name. "Maya L. Brooks, D.C. plates." "Yes, what's your business here?" "Driving home." He leaned closer. "You live around here?" "No." "That's what I thought." His smirk was slight but deliberate. "Step out of the vehicle. Is there a reason for that request?" "My reason's that I said so." Her breath came slow. "Officer, I'm a United States Senator." He laughed once, short and sharp. "And I'm the president out." The command cracked through the rain. She opened the door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and engine heat. Daniel circled her car, shining his flashlight inside. "This yours?" "Yes, fancy ride. Guess those government checks pay well." Her jaw tightened. "Public service doesn't pay what people think." He motioned to the back seat. "Pop the trunk." "I don't consent to a search," he met her eyes. "You think that matters?" The radio on his shoulder crackled. A female dispatcher's voice filtered through. "Unit 12, status check." "Routine stop," he said. "Subject uncooperative." The word stung, coded, rehearsed, weaponized. Within minutes, a second cruiser arrived. 2 more officers stepped out. Maya stood still, rain soaking through her clothes. Daniel spoke to his colleagues. "Claims she's a senator," one laughed. "From where?" "The Fantasy League?" Daniels gestured. "Search her bag." Maya's briefcase fell open, papers spilling across the wet asphalt. Senate letterhead, embossed seal catching the light. For a moment, no one moved. Then Daniels's voice broke the silence. "Cuff her." The metal bit her wrists. "This is a mistake," she said quietly. "Then file a complaint," he replied. The red dash cam light blinked, steady, merciless. As they led her to the cruiser, thunder rolled. Her phone buzzed again from the ground. still lit with her son's name. Daniels kicked it aside, and in the reflection of the rain-slick road she saw herself, hands bound, head high, disappearing into the flashing dark. The station smelled of bleach and old paper, clean enough to pretend at order, not enough to hide decay. The fluorescent lights hummed, a constant nervous buzz. Maya sat on the narrow bench in the holding room, wrists red from the cuffs, coat soaked through. Across the desk, Officer Carter filled out the intake form. He was young, maybe late 20s, brown skin, clipped tone. His badge glinted. Carter, J. He didn't look her in the eye. Daniels leaned against the doorframe, sipping burnt coffee, watching like he owned the air between them. Full name? Carter asked. Maya's voice was even. Senator Maya Louise Brooks. Daniels smirked. We'll just put Maya Brooks. Don't want to confuse the system with all that fantasy. Carter hesitated, pen paused. He glanced up briefly, and something flickered behind his composure. Recognition, maybe, but he wrote what Daniels said. Occupation? Maya exhaled. Legislator. United States Senate. Daniels chuckled, shaking his head. You hear that, Carter? Got ourselves a D.C. big shot. Probably here to fix us small-town folks. Carter's lips pressed together. Fingerprinting? He asked quietly. Sure, Daniels said. Let's make it official. Carter guided Maya to the scanner. His hands were steady but gentle, the only courtesy she'd been shown all night. I saw the badge in your case, he whispered, voice barely audible. I know who you are. Then you know this is wrong. He didn't answer. His jaw flexed. Keep calm. Cameras everywhere. Daniels returned, tossing a paper cup toward Maya. It hit the wall, water splashing down her sleeve. For your nerves, Senator. She stared at him, expression unreadable. Do you treat every woman like this, or just the black ones? He stepped closer. Depends which ones forget their place. Carter froze at the desk, eyes darting to the security camera in the corner. It blinked steadily, red light recording. A phone rang down the hall. Another officer shouted, Daniels, you got a call! He frowned. Who'd be calling me at this hour? When he left, the room exhaled. Carter's shoulders dropped. He turned back to Maya. They're saying there's a video, he murmured. Someone filmed the stop. It's online already. Her eyes lifted. How bad? Bad for him, Carter said. Good for the truth, she nodded once. Then leave the truth alone. Don't get involved, he hesitated. They'll throw me under with him if it turns. Then don't let it turn without you standing. Footsteps echoed. Daniels returned, looking unsettled. Chief wants me in the office, Carter asked. Something wrong? Just press crap, Daniels muttered. Some reporter calling about a viral clip. Damn vultures, Maya's pulse quickened. The tide was shifting faster than he knew. He gestured at her. You sit tight. Maybe you'll get your lawyer after breakfast. As the door closed behind him, Carter leaned closer. He's scared. They all are. Maya flexed her sore wrists. Fear's the first crack in the wall. The clock ticked, seconds slow and sharp. Outside, phones rang nonstop. The hum of printers, the muffled radio chatter. It all sounded like panic trying to stay polite. Hours passed. Rain tapered to silence. Then the station lights dimmed, power flicker. Carter returned, unlocking her cuffs without a word. Chief says you're to wait in interview too, he said, louder now in case the microphones caught only procedure. But as they walked the hall, he whispered, your people called. DC's on the line. They're verifying your identity. Maya stopped. And when they do? Carter's expression was unreadable. Then this place goes to hell. He opened the door to a small cold room. 2 chairs, 1 table, camera in the corner. Maya sat. Thank you, Officer Carter. He paused at the door. For what? For remembering I was human before anyone told you who I was. The door shut softly. Moments later, through the thin walls, Daniel's voice rose, panicked now. She's what? You're telling me that woman's really? A chair scraped, a muffled curse, the slam of a filing cabinet. Then silence. Maya stared at the camera lens above her, calm returning like breath after fire. Now, she whispered, let's begin. The red light blinked on. By dawn, the video had spread across every platform that trafficked outrage and disbelief. A woman in a navy suit. A cop's hand gripping her arm. The flash of cuffs. The caption, Black woman arrested for driving suspiciously. Eastwood County, Virginia. No one knew her name yet, but millions had seen her face. At the station, Daniels slammed his locker shut. These idiots online think every traffic stop's a hate crime. The chief, a square man with thinning hair, didn't look up from his desk. You'd better hope it wasn't, Daniels. Headquarters is calling, Daniels scoffed. Over a nobody with a fancy attitude? The chief's phone rang again before he could answer. The tone of his voice changed mid-sentence. Yes, sir. Confirmed in custody. What? She's what? His face drained. Understood. He hung up slowly. That woman is Senator Maya Brooks of D.C. The room fell still. The printer clicked in the corner, spitting out forms that suddenly didn't matter. Daniels laughed once, then stopped when no one joined. Come on, that's impossible. Doesn't matter what you think, the chief said. It's already national. Get her processed for release immediately, and pray she doesn't sue you into retirement. Daniels' jaw flexed. She pulled rank. Lied about who she was. She told you who she was. You didn't listen. Across the hall, Maya sat in the interview room, still in the damp suit. Carter entered quietly, holding a landline receiver. Call from D.C., he said. Chief of Staff wants to speak with you. Maya took the phone. Elena? Her aide's voice came rapid, half-breathless. Senator, it's everywhere. CNN, Twitter, local affiliates. We're drafting a statement. The governor's demanding answers. Maya's tone stayed measured. Tell them the truth will speak for itself. No statement yet. Elena hesitated. They want your quote. Then tell them this. Power doesn't protect you from prejudice. It only exposes it. Carter looked down, pretending not to hear. Outside the station, camera flashes painted the parking lot white. Reporters shouted questions into microphones. Senator Brooks? Were you targeted? Did the officer know who you were? Daniels peeked through the blinds, sweat gleaming on his temple. They're vultures. They'll twist it. The chief snapped. They don't need to twist anything. You did it yourself. Daniels grabbed his cap. She's making me the poster boy for racism. I was just doing my job. Carter spoke from the doorway. No, sir. You were proving hers. Daniels turned on him. Watch yourself, rookie. I'm watching, Carter said. So is the world. Maya was escorted out minutes later. The air outside hit cold and electric. Cameras surged. She blinked at the sudden light, chin high. Senator, do you plan to press charges? Were you aware you were being filmed? Do you think this reflects systemic bias in law enforcement? Maya raised a hand. I'll address your questions later. Right now I'm going home. Her voice carried over the noise. Steady, unmistakable. A journalist muttered, She sounds presidential. Inside, Daniels tore the badge from his chest, threw it onto the desk, and stormed toward the back exit. I'm not letting some D.C. politician ruin me. The chief called after him. She doesn't have to ruin you, Daniels. You did that yourself. Maya's car, retrieved and polished, waited by the curb. Carter stood nearby, avoiding cameras. She paused beside him. You did the right thing. He shook his head. Didn't do anything. Yes, you did, she said. You stayed decent when decency was dangerous. Her driver opened the door. Reporters shouted as she got in. The cameras captured one final frame. Maya's face reflected in the glass. Exhausted but unbroken. By the time she reached D.C., the headlines had changed. Senator Maya Brooks wrongfully arrested. Dashcam footage confirms civil rights violation. She switched off her phone, closed her eyes. The storm had only begun. By the next morning, the Eastwood County precinct had become a fortress of denial. Reporters crowded the chain-link fence, cameras trained on every doorway. The air buzzed with generators, camera drones, and the static of panic disguised as protocol. Inside, Chief Reynolds barked into his phone. We're cooperating fully, yes. Internal review underway. Officer Daniels has been placed on administrative leave. His eyes darted toward Daniels, who paced the hallway like a caged animal. She's twisting this, Daniels muttered, voice rough. You see how they're framing it? Like I hunted her down. Reynolds snapped. You dragged a sitting senator out of her car on camera. What part of that needs twisting? Daniels slammed his fist into a locker. She played me. She baited it. Then she played it better than you, Carter said quietly from the corner. Daniels turned. You think you're some hero now? Carter's gaze didn't waver. No, just someone who saw what you didn't. Maya's SUV rolled through the front gates minutes later. escorted by 2 black sedans from the Attorney General's office. She stepped out wearing a pressed blazer and composure like armor. Her team followed. Elena, 2 aides, and a silent man with a recording device. Reynolds met her at the entrance, sweating beneath the cameras. "Senator Brooks, we'd like to express—" "I'm not here for apologies," she said. "I'm here for the report." The lobby stilled. A few officers stood at rigid attention, pretending to shuffle papers. The silence was thick, taut with unease. Daniels leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You got what you wanted, Senator. Fame, front page." "You're welcome." Maya faced him fully. "No, officer. What I want is accountability." He laughed under his breath. "You politicians love that word till it's aimed at you." "Then let's test it," she said. "You're suspended pending investigation. I'll be testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee regarding racial bias in policing. Congratulations, you're Exhibit A." The line cut through the air like shrapnel. Daniel's mouth tightened. "You think this'll stick?" "The union'll back me. They always do," Reynolds muttered. "Not this time, son." Maya turned to Carter. "Officer Carter, would you accompany me to the interview room? I'd like your account recorded." He hesitated. "Ma'am, it's Senator Brooks," she corrected, though her tone softened. "Tell the truth. That's all I ask." Inside the small room, the recorder clicked on. Carter sat stiffly, fingers clasped together. Maya's aide prompted, "Please state your name and position." "Officer Jordan Carter, Eastwood County Police Department." "And your role in the events of last night?" "I was assigned to intake the detainee, Senator Brooks." "Did you witness the initial arrest?" "No, ma'am. But I saw the footage after. I processed her paperwork. I can confirm she identified herself properly." Maya leaned forward. "Did any officer mock, threaten, or verbally demean me during custody?" Carter swallowed. "Yes, Officer Daniels referred to you as you people and implied you didn't belong here." Maya's voice stayed calm, but her hands tightened in her lap. "Thank you, Officer Carter. You may be dismissed." When the door closed, Elena leaned in. "That's enough. We've got the soundbite." "He's finished." "Not yet," Maya said. "This isn't about one man's downfall. It's about the rot beneath him." Outside, reporters shouted questions through the doorway. "Senator! Is this political theater? Are you exploiting this for publicity?" Maya stepped to the microphones. The flashbulbs burst like miniature explosions. "I didn't ask for this," she began. "I was driving home. I followed the law, and yet I was treated like a suspect because of the color of my skin and the assumptions that live in our institutions." Her voice was low, unhurried. Each word landed with surgical precision. "This isn't a story about me. It's a mirror held up to a country that still hasn't learned to see itself." From inside the precinct, Daniels watched through the blinds, jaw clenched, the sound of her voice bleeding through the thin glass. Every syllable stripped another layer from his certainty. "Turn that off," he muttered. But Carter stood behind him. "You can't turn off truth, Daniels. It's everywhere now." That night, the clip of Maya's statement led every national broadcast. "This isn't a story about me. It's a mirror." By midnight, the Eastwood County Police Department's website crashed under the flood of public comments. Daniels sat alone in the locker room, staring at his badge on the bench. The phone buzzed beside it, union conference call 7 a.m. He didn't answer. Outside, thunder rumbled again, distant, measured. In D.C., Maya stood at her apartment window watching the Capitol lights burn through the fog. Elena asked softly, "You think it'll change anything?" Maya didn't look away from the window. Not everything, but enough to make them uncomfortable. She touched the faint bruise on her wrist, the mark still visible beneath the sleeve. The cameras could capture everything but the weight beneath her ribs. The quiet truth that justice always came late, and never without cost. She whispered, more to herself than anyone, "Tomorrow the hearings begin." By sunrise, the precinct was wrapped in a haze of satellite vans and news anchors rehearsing outrage. Maya Brooks emerged through the main doors, flanked by aides and security, her composure carved from something deeper than calm. Reporters surged forward, microphones raised like weapons of hope and suspicion. "Senator Brooks, are you pressing charges? Do you believe Officer Daniels targeted you because of race? Do you plan to resign from the Judiciary Committee during the investigation?" She stopped at the podium set up hastily by her team, rainwater glinting on the metal microphones. The chaos stilled on cue. Her gaze swept across the crowd, not above them, not through them, but into them. "Good morning," she began. "I was detained last night by Officer Mark Daniels of the Eastwood County Police Department while driving home from Washington, D.C. I complied fully with every command. I identified myself truthfully. I was handcuffed anyway." Flashbulbs strobed. A murmur rippled through the press line. "I want to be clear," she continued. "This is not about one officer. This is about a system that taught him I was a threat before he ever saw my license." Carter stood off to the side, cap in hand. He looked younger in daylight and infinitely more tired. Daniels was nowhere to be seen. The union had sequestered him under advisement. Maya's voice didn't waver. "When someone with my title can be treated this way, imagine the thousands with no title at all. I will not let this moment fade into the next news cycle. Accountability will follow." A reporter shouted, "Are you calling for his firing?" She paused, eyes narrowing slightly. "I'm calling for his education and his consequence. Both are necessary." Another voice from the crowd. "Senator, how do you respond to critics who say you're politicizing a personal incident?" Her tone cut through the static. "Racism is never personal. It's policy, Elance." The words hung like smoke. Behind her, Elena whispered, "That's the line. That's the headline." But Maya wasn't finished. "This isn't about vengeance. It's about visibility. The people I serve deserve to see what happens when power is abused and how it must be corrected." Carter stepped forward then, voice barely above the crowd. "Senator Brooks is telling the truth. I processed her myself. She was respectful, calm, and cooperative." The microphone swung toward him. "Officer, do you believe the arrest was racially motivated?" Carter hesitated, then nodded once. "Yes, and that should never be normal." Reporters erupted. The chief's face, visible through the glass doors, drained to the color of paper. Maya turned slightly toward Carter. "Thank you, officer." He nodded, eyes steady. Daniels watched from inside the chief's office, fists clenched, face pale under the fluorescent light. The television played the live feed, Maya's image sharp and composed. "She's lying," he muttered. The chief didn't look up. "No, she's winning." Outside, Maya's statement continued. "I will return to Washington to initiate hearings on law enforcement bias and procedural reform. Not because I was wronged, but because millions have been, and they deserve someone to keep saying it even when the cameras leave." Her aide handed her a folder. Inside were official documents, requests for a Senate review of the Eastwood Department's conduct. She signed them in front of the cameras. The gesture was deliberate. Justice as paperwork, justice as proof. One journalist called out, "Do you forgive him?" Maya's eyes softened, but her jaw remained firm. "Forgiveness doesn't replace responsibility. He'll face both in time." The press shouted more questions, but she stepped down from the podium, the sound of clicking shutters trailing her like applause mixed with accusation. Inside the precinct, Daniels threw his badge against the wall. "You think I'm just going to sit here and let her destroy my life?" The chief sighed. "Son, she didn't destroy it. She just turned the lights on." He left Daniels staring at the broken badge on the floor, the metal glinting like a confession. That night, networks replayed the footage again and again. Each replay slowed on the same phrase. "Racism is never personal. It's policy." The line became the country's pulse for a news cycle that wouldn't die. In her hotel room, Maya sat on the bed, shoes off, suit jacket draped across a chair. Elena typed frantically beside her, fielding calls from networks and colleagues. CNN wants an exclusive. The Times wants a feature. The White House is requesting a private briefing. Maya interrupted softly. "Silence them all for tonight." Elena blinked. "Senator, I need a moment to be human before they turn me into a symbol." The aide nodded, closed the laptop. Maya leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. The hum of the city outside felt louder now, as if the entire country was holding its breath. For the first time since the arrest, she allowed herself to exhale, not relief, readiness. The next 48 hours were war fought through screens. Cable news split down predictable lines. One side called Maya Brooks a hero for confronting systemic injustice. The other labeled her a race-baiting opportunist exploiting a misunderstanding. Hashtags burned across the internet. Is Stand With Maya versus Back the Blue. Officer Daniels watched from his living room, Curtains drawn, TV volume low. Every channel replayed the footage, the cuffs, the rain, his own voice sneering. You people think rules don't apply. He poured whiskey into a chipped glass, handshaking slightly. His phone buzzed. Union rep, incoming call. He answered on the second ring. Mark, a gruff voice said, we're doing what we can. But you've become toxic. Public opinion's bad. Real bad. She's lying, Daniel said.
She made me the villain. She didn't have to make you anything, the rep replied.
You did that on tape. He hung up without responding. The silence afterward was heavier than guilt. It was recognition. Across D.C., Maya faced her own storm. The threats came first. Emails, voicemails, anonymous letters. Some were venomous, others condescending. You're making everything about race. Why don't you let the courts handle it? Watch your back, Senator. Her staff filtered most, but a few slipped through. She read them without flinching. Words, after all, had always been her battlefield. Her teenage son, Malik, wasn't as composed. He slammed the tablet down on the kitchen counter. Why are they saying you hate the police? You don't. I don't hate anyone, she said. That's the point. They're calling you names online, he said. People from my school are posting memes. They're using your picture. Maya reached across the table, took his hand. People attack what they don't understand. Let them see the truth in how we live, not how they lie. He stared at her, jaw trembling with the kind of anger youth wears before it learns how to carry it. They humiliated you, Mom. You should humiliate them back. Her voice softened. Revenge doesn't rebuild anything. Accountability does. The next day, she appeared before the Senate Ethics Committee. Protocol demanded review whenever a sitting member became subject to a police incident. Cameras waited outside the chamber. Inside, her colleagues whispered, eyes darting away as she passed. Senator Aldridge, an older white conservative, leaned toward her as she took her seat. Rough week, Maya. Maybe next time don't provoke small-town cops, She looked at him, expression steady. Maybe next time tell them not to handcuff democracy on the side of the road. He smirked. Always the dramatist. She replied, always alive to tell it. That's more than some can say. The gavel struck. Proceedings began. Meanwhile, in Eastwood County, Carter sat in the squad room typing his formal statement. His colleagues avoided eye contact. Some muttered under their breath, traitor, media boy, snitch. When he stood to grab coffee, one officer blocked his way. You sold us out, Carter. He met the man's eyes. If truth sells, maybe you were overpriced. Tension sparked, but the chief stepped in. Enough, we've got auditors coming in. You'll cooperate or you'll clear your desks. That night, a local talk show featured a segment titled, Was Senator Brooks Right? The panelists debated her tone, her motives, her attitude, not her treatment, not the system. Always her. Maya watched from her living room couch, Malik asleep beside her, his head on her shoulder. Elena texted updates every hour. New polls, new threats, new invitations. She muted the TV. The silence was both wound and weapon. Her phone buzzed again. It was Carter. Senator, he said, voice low. Internal Affairs just called me in. They're opening a full inquiry into Daniel's conduct. They asked for your cooperation. Maya closed her eyes briefly. Tell them I'll testify. But tell them this too. They're not investigating one man. They're investigating a culture. Yes, ma'am, Carter said. After the call ended, Maya turned off the lights, leaving only the glow from the muted television. An endless loop of her arrest. Her speech, her face frozen mid-sentence. She whispered into the dark. Let them see what they built. Outside, sirens echoed in the distance. Faint but steady, power never disappeared. It just waited for who would hold it next. Rain drummed against the marble steps of the Senate Annex, turning the entrance into a blur of umbrellas and microphones. The hearing was public, broadcast live on every major network. Senator Maya Brooks arrived without entourage. Only Elena walked beside her, clipboard in hand, expression a mix of defiance and exhaustion. Photographers swarmed, shouting questions that clashed like metal against metal. Senator Brooks, do you regret your confrontation with Officer Daniels? Is this about race or political optics? Do you support defunding the police? Maya didn't slow down. I support truth, she said once, loud enough for the mics. Then silence, her only armor. Inside, the committee room glowed with sterile light. Nameplates, microphones, the national flag at her back. The air reeked of coffee and caution. Across the room sat Officer Daniels in uniform, hair trimmed too neat. He avoided her eyes. His lawyer whispered something. He nodded, but his jaw was tight. Chairwoman Rivera banged the gavel. "This hearing will come to order." The murmurs died. Rivera turned to Maya. "Senator Brooks, thank you for agreeing to testify." "You may begin." Maya stood. Her voice carried not through volume but clarity, the calm of someone who had already faced public crucifixion and survived it. "2 weeks ago," she began, "I was driving home from a community meeting when I was stopped by Officer Daniels. What began as a traffic stop became an arrest, one performed without probable cause under the presumption that my presence, my tone, or perhaps my color made me suspicious." She paused, letting the weight of color settle in the air. "This isn't about a single officer. It's about a system that allows disrespect to precede due process." Daniel's attorney rose. "Objection. This testimony assumes motive." Rivera replied, "Overruled." "Continue, Senator." Maya looked straight at Daniels for the first time. "You told me people like you think rules don't apply. What rules did you mean, officer?" The room turned toward him. He shifted, lips tightening. "I don't recall saying that." Maya's aide clicked a remote. The projector lit the wall, the body cam footage, grainy but damning. Rain, cuffs, her voice restrained, his words sharp. The quote echoed again. "People like you think rules don't apply." Silence broke like glass. Rivera spoke softly. "Officer Daniels, would you care to clarify?" He swallowed hard. That statement was taken out of context. "I meant politicians, people who abuse their position." Maya's eyes didn't move. "I wasn't a politician that night. I was a citizen in handcuffs." Gasps. Someone in the press row scribbled furiously. Rivera leaned forward. "Senator Brooks, what do you believe justice looks like here?" Maya exhaled, measured, steady. "Justice isn't punishment. It's recognition, acknowledging what was done, who did it, and why. I don't want his badge revoked out of spite. I want a system that would have stopped him before it came to that." Daniel's lawyer muttered, grandstanding. But Daniels finally spoke. Quietly. "I was following procedure," Maya replied. "Procedure without conscience is tyranny." The room froze. He looked up, eyes rimmed red not from guilt but from collapse, the kind that happens when denial runs out of air. "I didn't know who you were," he said, voice breaking.
"If I had, maybe—" "Exactly," Maya cut in.
"That's the problem." Rivera's gavel struck again. Order. For the next hour, legal counsel dissected policy, body cam gaps, departmental training failures. Each argument circled back to the same question. Was it racism or error? Was it intent or ignorance? Maya watched as politicians treated her humiliation like a case study. Numbers over humanity, protocol over pain. Then, unexpectedly, Carter was called to testify. He took the stand, uniform crisp, voice unwavering. "I was there when she was arrested," he said. "I asked Officer Daniels to check her identification twice. He ignored me. When I insisted, he told me to stay in my lane. That lane apparently didn't include justice." Rivera nodded. "And why didn't you intervene physically?" "I was afraid of losing my job. But fear doesn't excuse silence. I'm here because silence nearly made me complicit." Maya met his eyes. No words, just understanding, the kind that bridges the space between courage and regret. As the hearing closed, Rivera delivered the committee's preliminary finding. "We determined there was clear misconduct and potential racial bias in Officer Daniels' actions. Formal recommendation for disciplinary review will proceed to the Department of Justice." Cameras flashed. Voices erupted. Daniels lowered his head, face pale. His lawyer packed papers quickly. Outside, reporters waited again, microphones outstretched like weapons. "Senator Brooks, how do you feel?" She stopped on the steps, rain still falling. "Tired," she said. "But this isn't over. It's never just one hearing, it's every day we're not believed." One reporter shouted, "Do you forgive him?" She turned slightly, eyes meeting the camera lens directly. "Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And I will not forget." The flashbulbs popped like thunder. Daniels watched from the corridor window as she walked into the rain, unflinching, steady, unbroken. For the first time, he didn't feel anger. He felt the hollow quiet of someone realizing his badge had shielded him from seeing himself. The city lights blurred beyond the glass. His reflection looked smaller than it ever had. And outside, Maya kept walking. The storm didn't let up. Neither did she. The hearing ended, but the story didn't. It metastasized. Within hours, clips flooded every feed. Senator Brooks destroys racist cop on live TV. Officer Daniels faces federal review. Every platform carved their narrative from the wreckage. Some framed her as a crusader. Others painted her as chaos in a suit. Maya sat alone in her office, blinds half drawn, phone still buzzing. She hadn't turned on the news. She didn't need to. The city's pulse was already pounding through the walls. Elena entered quietly. The governor called. He wants you to know he's backing you publicly. Maya didn't look up. Backing me for what? Doing what any black woman has to do to stay alive? Elena hesitated. It's still support. It's strategy, Maya said. On the far wall hung a framed photograph. Maya shaking hands with a police chief during her first term. She stared at it for a long time before saying, "Take that down." Elena obeyed. Across town, Officer Daniels met his lawyer outside the Internal Affairs building. Cameras hovered like vultures. He kept his head down, but he could feel the world's eyes peeling him apart. Inside, investigators questioned him for 6 hours. Procedure, training, conduct, every detail reduced to ink and policy. For the first time in his career, he couldn't hide behind the uniform. When he left, the parking lot was empty except for a single reporter. She called out, "Officer Daniels." "Any comment?" He stopped. "Yeah," he said finally, voice flat. "It wasn't just me." Then he walked away. Back in D.C., Maya appeared on The Viewpoint, a political talk show with a reputation for sharp edges. The host leaned forward, tone surgical. "Senator Brooks, do you believe racism is systemic or situational?" Maya folded her hands. "Systemic. Situational racism is just the symptom. Systemic is the bloodstream." The host smirked. "Some say you're using this moment to launch a higher profile. Maybe even the national stage." Maya's gaze didn't waver. "If telling the truth looks like ambition, maybe the problem isn't my goals, it's your comfort." The audience went silent. Then applause. Carter watched that clip from his precinct locker room. The sound echoed through the hall. Some officers rolled their eyes. Others stayed quiet. He thought about calling her, thanking her for not naming him in her testimony, but didn't. Some debts aren't repaid with words. Instead, he turned in his resignation the next morning. In his letter he wrote, "Integrity shouldn't be a liability." A week later, Daniels received notice. Termination effective immediately. Pending review for potential criminal misconduct. He sat in his kitchen staring at the letter. The TV murmured in the background, commentators dissecting his downfall. He'd lost the badge, the pension, the illusion. His teenage son came in, eyes red. "Dad, they're calling you a racist online." "Everyone at school?" Daniels looked up slowly. "Then tell them I was wrong." The boy froze. "Tell them," he said again, quieter. "I was wrong." That same night, Maya walked through her neighborhood alone, the air heavy with late summer humidity. A stranger called out from a porch, "We saw you on TV, Senator." "You made us proud," she smiled faintly. "Thank you." But pride felt thin, hollow. Because victory didn't bring back the hours she spent handcuffed on asphalt, or erase the fear in Malik's eyes. At home, she found her son asleep on the couch again, tablet in his lap, replaying her speech from the hearing. His hand rested on the screen as if guarding it. She brushed his hair back, whispered, "It's over." But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't. The system never ended. It just changed its mask. Morning brought headlines. Justice Department launches full inquiry into Eastwood County Police Department. It was happening. Finally. Maya watched the news in silence. Elena burst in moments later, breathless. "You did it. They're cleaning house. Training reform, oversight, everything you called for." Maya nodded slowly. "Good." Elena waited for more. None came. After a long pause, Maya said, "There's no joy in proving pain was real." Weeks later, she returned to the spot where it began, the intersection where rain and blue lights had met her. No cameras now, no slogans, just the hum of ordinary traffic. She stood there, hands in her pockets, breathing in the scent of wet pavement. A young officer recognized her from across the street. He hesitated, then saluted. She nodded once, and in that quiet, she felt what justice really was, not triumph, but the stubborn act of surviving long enough to demand it. Autumn crept into Washington with cold rain and restless air. The city's monuments gleamed under the gray, like old ghosts watching history argue with itself again. For Senator Maya Brooks, the weeks after the inquiry were both vindication and exhaustion. Every committee meeting, every interview, every handshake carried an invisible weight, the burden of having to be the example. Her name had become shorthand, the senator who fought the system. But she knew better. The system wasn't fought. It was endured, one wound at a time. That morning, she received the official report. The Justice Department concluded systemic misconduct, failure of leadership, discriminatory enforcement patterns. The Eastwood County Police Department would be placed under federal oversight for 5 years. 2 captains were suspended. Officer Daniels was banned from law enforcement permanently. The letter ended with bureaucratic neutrality. Reform recommended. Maya traced the words with her finger. Reform, she said quietly. They always say reform when they mean repair. Elena entered carrying 2 coffees. You're on every network again. They're calling this the Brooks Reform Act. Maya didn't smile. Names fade. Systems stay. Elena studied her. You don't look happy. Justice isn't joy, Maya said. It's proof that pain left a mark. Down in Eastwood, the station stood half empty. Posters were gone. Desks cleared. The mood was brittle, like a structure waiting to collapse under the truth it had hidden for years. Carter walked through the hallway for the last time. His badge already turned in, his locker bare. He nodded to the new federal monitors unpacking boxes in the chief's office. One of them stopped him. You were the one who testified, right? Yeah, the monitor extended a hand. Took guts. You ever think of coming over to oversight? Carter looked around, the fluorescent lights flickering. Maybe. But first I need to remember what it feels like to breathe without apology. He stepped outside into the afternoon sun, the same town, suddenly less invincible. That night, Officer Daniels faced a different kind of trial, the quiet kind that happens when no one's left to defend you. His house was smaller now. His wife gone, his son living with her. The walls held silence like punishment. He turned on the television out of habit. Maya's face appeared again, speaking at a community forum about accountability. He watched without anger this time. She spoke of dignity, not vengeance, of a world where police and citizens didn't see each other as enemies but as mirrors, both capable of reflection, both capable of harm. For the first time he understood the line that had haunted him since the hearing. Procedure without conscience is tyranny. He whispered it aloud. She was right. Then he switched off the TV and sat in the dark, the rain outside whispering a kind of penance. 3 months later, Maya stood before a crowd at Howard University, delivering the keynote at the annual Civil Rights Symposium. The auditorium was full, students, activists, veterans of marches old and new. This, she said, gesturing to the packed hall, is what endurance looks like. She paused, eyes scanning the room. We are told to be patient. We are told progress takes time, but patience without accountability is permission for injustice to rest. Applause rolled through the hall like thunder. From the back row, a familiar figure watched silently, Carter. He'd accepted a position with the DOJ's Civil Rights Division. He didn't approach her afterward. He didn't need to. The nod they shared across the distance was enough. Acknowledgement without performance. Later, outside the university, Malik waited beside her car. Taller now, sharper around the edges of boyhood. Mom, he said. My history teacher asked if she could show your hearing in class. Said it's part of the curriculum now. Maya raised an eyebrow. Really? He grinned. I told her sure, but she should warn people first, and it's not a movie with a happy ending. Maya laughed softly. You're learning faster than I did. He looked up at her. Does it ever end? Her gaze drifted toward the Capitol dome in the distance. Not the fight, but the fear can. He nodded, and for a moment the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was honest. Months passed. The reform program rolled out. Training videos, policy changes, a civilian review board. It wasn't perfect, but it was visible. And on one overcast morning, Maya received a letter, no return address, the handwriting shaky but careful. Senator Brooks, I've lost much since that night. My job, my reputation, my family's respect. but I've also gained something I never had, the need to listen. You said justice isn't punishment. You were right. I'm trying to live like I finally believe that. Mark Daniels. Maya folded the letter slowly. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Forgiveness wasn't owed, but recognition, that was rare. She placed the letter in her desk drawer beside her copy of the Reform Act. Then she stood, closed her office door, and looked out over the city, its lights flickering, restless, imperfect. For the first time in months, she breathed deeply. Not relief, not peace, just air unchoked by silence. The work would continue tomorrow. Tonight, she allowed herself the smallest mercy, rest earned through resistance. Outside, rain began to fall again, tracing the windows in silver threads. The same rain that had witnessed her humiliation now whispered against glass, softer this time, almost like applause. The city was quieter now. Rain swept through D.C. like a slow apology, washing dust from the stone faces of its monuments, carrying the scent of something half-healed, half-remembered. Senator Maya Brooks stood on her balcony overlooking the Capitol, coat draped around her shoulders, coffee cooling in her hand. The night hummed with sirens far away, a rhythm the city never forgot. It had been nearly a year since the arrest. A year since handcuffs, hearings, and headlines. A year since she had learned that truth once spoken could cut and cure in equal measure. The Brooks Reform Act was now federal law. Not perfect, but powerful. Every police department receiving federal funds was required to implement racial bias audits, transparent disciplinary boards, and citizen review panels. The act carried her name, though she had tried to remove it. "Don't you want your legacy?" Elena had asked when the bill passed. Maya had answered, "Legacy is for those who rest." I'm not done. She hadn't been. She wasn't now. The door behind her creaked open. Malik stepped out, now 17, taller, voice steady. "You're up early," he said. "I never slept," Maya replied. He joined her at the railing, eyes following the sweep of light over the city. "You still think about it? That night?" She didn't answer immediately. "Every time I hear sirens," she said finally, "but they sound different now. Less like warning, more like reminder." He nodded. "People at school argue about you. Some call you brave. Some say you hate cops, and then what do you say? I tell them you love justice more than comfort. That makes them uncomfortable." Maya smiled faintly. "Then you're telling the truth." They stood in silence, the rain drizzling harder, pooling in tiny rivers along the edge of the balcony. "Do you think he meant it?" Malik asked suddenly. "Officer Daniels and that letter he sent?" "I think remorse is real when it doesn't ask for a reply." He considered that, then said, "I hope he's okay." Maya turned toward him, surprised by the gentleness in his voice. "So do I," she said. "Because if he's healing, maybe the system can too." Inside, her phone buzzed. Elena again. Another meeting, another reform proposal. The world moved on fast. Wounds didn't. Maya let the call ring unanswered. For once, she wanted stillness. She looked back at the Capitol dome glowing faintly through the mist, the same place where she had once stood trembling in cuffs, her dignity soaked through with rain, the same place that now passed laws in her name. Power, she thought, was never what they told you. It wasn't control. It was endurance. The ability to still stand, still speak, after everything tried to silence you. Behind her, Malik spoke softly. "Mom, do you think it was worth it?" She didn't hesitate. "Every second." He nodded, eyes reflecting the city lights. "Then maybe that's enough." They stayed there, mother and son, framed by the same rain that had begun her story. Far away in a quiet suburb outside Eastwood, Officer Daniels sat on his porch listening to the same rain. He'd found work as a private security guard. The uniform felt different now, heavier. Sometimes he'd catch himself checking IDs twice, apologizing when he didn't need to. He kept her letter, "I don't forgive to forget," folded in his wallet. Not to punish himself, but to remember what conscience sounded like when it finally spoke. He looked out at the rain, whispered, "Do better," and meant it. Back in D.C., Maya finally stepped inside, closed the balcony door, and stood before her reflection in the dark window. For the first time, she didn't see the woman who had been arrested. She saw the woman who had refused to disappear. Her coffee was cold. Her phone still buzzing, the world still broken, and yet she smiled. Because survival in this country was still the most radical form of resistance, she whispered, "Let it rain." Outside, the downpour grew heavier, drumming against glass, drowning out the city's noise, steady, relentless, cleansing. The same sound that had once marked her humiliation now marked her peace. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't closure. It was continuation, the sound of rain,